Oh, hey, Chris, in the middle here. How you doing? Happy fight week.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
And I mean, just talk to me about this fight. A lot of talk about you guys having trained together in the past and stuff. So overall, now that we're on fight week, what are your thoughts?
And not much, to be honest. I've done this before with a training partner. You know, it is what it is. This is business, you know. And the good thing is, fighting's a great equaliser. You know, we get to go out there and dish it out to each other on a Saturday night. So looking forward to it. Yeah.
And to confirm, he has not been to ATT this camp, correct?
No, he has. Yeah, he was there.
So
yeah.
you guys are actually training like alongside each other in the same room for this fight?
Yeah, he was in the same gym, and then we were in the sauna together. And like, I don't. A lot of people. I'm sorry if this comes across wrong, but a lot of people like you don't get what I'm doing, and me and Moicano do. Like, we have so much respect for each other that, you know, like, it's going to be fighting, and like I said, it's going to be an equaliser on Saturday night. Whoever wins, wins. And, you know, people can't fathom that, and that's why people like to watch, because people are not bred like me, where I'm on a different level.
And I understand ATT is a huge room, so you guys actually haven't been like working at all with each other for this camp, right? Even though you've been in the same room?
No, that would be cheating. So, yeah. ATT is so vast that it's almost like this, the Apex, you know, it's so big, we got so many different rooms, you know, we can keep it pretty private.
And I'm just wondering what the buzz is overall, ATT. Like, are they like excited for this, looking forward to this fight? Is there any like, I don't know, weirdness in the air? Does that make sense?
They obviously don't like it, but you know how big the UFC is, and it just sometimes has to happen. The UFC and American Top Team are quite close, I would presume. So, you know, they've done this millions of times, and they understand, and it's business at the end of the day, because it's my business, and their business is obviously to facilitate the fighters. So I'm very, very fortunate to have ATT like be able to work like that, because there was no picking and choosing who's the better fighter or who gets this and who gets that. It's straight down the middle. Everybody gets the same opportunity.
And I don't know how much you can take away from your guys' past work with each other, but just on paper, talk to me about this fight stylistically. A lot of fans are saying you bring like the dynamite, the explosivity. If it goes to the further rounds, it could favor Moicano maybe with experience. So what are your thoughts?
I definitely don't think it will favour him later in the rounds. You know, I'm built for 5 rounds. I love 5 rounds. I feel like I get to express myself a little bit better when it comes to the 5 rounds. But yeah, I feel obviously he's a fantastic opponent. You know, unfortunately, he's a teammate, but listen, I'm absolutely ecstatic to be able to be stepping across the octagon for him, in front of him, sorry. You know, what an opponent. Like, the actual caliber of opponents he's had in the past, Jose Aldo, Islam Makhachev, like, the resume is insane.
He's top 10 with a win. I assume that puts you there. Any idea what's next for you?
I'm not thinking any further into the future. Moicano Saturday, home Sunday, and that's all I've got planned.
Last one for me, and it's about the future, but immediately after the fight. You guys, no animosity? You guys good, hugging, shaking hands afterwards?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. He's a really nice guy. Like, I've spent a lot of time with him, and I think he's a brilliant guy, great individual, and I hope to God that he thinks the same. It's just business, and I'm sure he will. It's just, he's a professional.
As you mentioned, you know, it's part of the business, the gym. These sort of things will happen. But when it comes to coaches, is that just the normal? The coaches will just gravitate to the guys that they work with the most? Or how does that selection happen between who's going to be in whose corner?
We've all got our own individual coaches. You know, there's a little bit of separation in the gym from different styles of coaches. So we've got strikers, grapplers, head coaches. You know, off the top of my head, I think there's 10, 15 plus coaches in that gym. So fortunately enough, a lot of our coaches were separated anyway, so we didn't have to make the decision.
And like you said, at the end of the day, when it's back at when the fight's over, you guys are gonna everything. It's not like you guys aren't friends now. You just focus. You got to focus on the fight.
Yeah.
Is this the sort of thing that that you see within the training as well? That the gym overall is just embracing both you guys, or do you see where people will not choose sides because they want the gym overall to win? But is that sort of a natural thing where will the gym just be supporting whoever wins and then as well supporting the guy that loses, or how does the overall gym structure change a little bit when a fight like this happens?
Yeah, I think it would be bad upon American Top Team to not do that. I think for them to support us both is like, it's a no-brainer to me. Like, anybody who thinks that they wouldn't support us is insane. ATT have been a lease of life for my MMA career, and that's why I went to ATT again, regardless of who I went with. And the conversations that I have with Dan and Richie at ATT, it's just as my home as it is Moicano's. And, they will support me all the way. And that's what a good gym does.
And I know this week he's an opponent, but this is a guy that I'm sure you've looked up to and you've watched his career. So when you think about him, his fight style over the past, what are some of the great things that you've seen about him as a training partner as well as just a fighter representing your gym?
Obviously, the caliber we talked about before, the caliber of opponents he's went through, and his grappling is exceptional. He's fucked me up many times in the gym when I first started going there. So, I learned a lot from him. He was kind enough to share some details. He's a good guy. And we're just going to fight on Saturday night. And I've accomplished so much in the last 5 years. I've gotten much better as a fighter over the last 5 years, because I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't think I could beat Moicano.
And even with that, the UFC put you as a main event. How does that feel to be representing, at the top of the bill? And what does this mean for your career, headlining a UFC fight?
Jesus, it's amazing. Signing the posters, getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. It's like dreams come true. I've my training partner Robert, he said like a lifetime of work for this one moment. Like, people think it just comes like this. It doesn't. This is a lifetime. Like, I'm not talking like 2 years. I'm talking like my whole life. Since 2014, I've been dedicating myself to MMA, day in, day out, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. My brain does not stop. And, I'm always like thinking back to like what I could do better. I don't think I could do much better of my career. I've made so many good decisions. I've done the right things. I've always turned up to training when I didn't want to. I think me and Robert have trained 3 times a week for the last 10, 15 years. It's been insane.
And I'm sure you can think back to when you went to the gym for the first time, and now I'm sure there's young guys starting at the gym that are looking at you, looking at Renato, like you guys are the guys that they're looking up to. Do you appreciate the fact that now you got these young guys coming to look at you as a potential role model? Do you feel that now?
Oh, definitely. It's really nice, and it's like the circle of life almost. I mentioned on a podcast yesterday, Joe Pyfer main evented the first contender series of that bill. I main evented the following contender series, and it's followed in the same suit. Joe Pyfer main evented, knocked out his opponent last week, and now I'm main eventing this slot. So that's like the full circle if you really think about it.
Well, speaking of that, you brought up Joe Pyfer. Talk to me about that performance. What do you think about that? I don't think a lot of people thought that's what was going to happen in that fight.
I did. Unfortunately, Izzy's one of the best guys to watch in the divisions, but I just think he's up and coming. Knockout power. I knew he had the grappling. It was just insane to watch.
And I know you kind of talked on a little bit earlier about, this is just business, but you're headlining. You want to go out there. You want to have an incredible finish, or you want to have an incredible end of the fight that people are going to remember. But at the end of the day, this is somebody from your team. How do you stay focused? What do you tell yourself to go out there and push as hard as you can be, knowing that at the end of the day, this is somebody you're going to see the following week back at the gym?
Well, in the same instance, regardless of what you've just said there, is like, I'm a different person to many different people. I'm a father, I'm a husband, all these sorts of things. And then how can I differentiate myself from walking into the cage and being a barbarian, an animal, a fighter, and go home to my kids and my family? It's the same thing. I've got a switch. I'm numb when it goes in there, and I'm also free. When I walk into that octagon, I let the chains off. In my sparring at ATT, all the sparring rounds I've done over, especially with MMA gloves, you're pulling your punches. You're not hitting hard. You're not trying to knock people out. Whereas when I walk into that octagon, I can let these chains off, and I can throw with vicious intent, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I'm sorry, I don't know this. Are the kids old enough to understand what Dad does? Do they watch your fights?
Well, yeah, they watch, but when it comes to like my daughter, she kind of recognizes that, like, why does Dad get stopped in the street, and why do people want pictures? And I always remember it was a bit of a weird one. I was with my daughter and only my daughter, and I'm not a fan of taking a picture when there's not someone to hold my daughter or look after her, because I'm away from the camera, like away from looking after her. And the guy, I said, no photos, mate, because I've got my kid. And he's like, she could take it. And I was like, no, that's not happening. But yeah, I hope she understands. And the only thing I care about is if she thinks I'm a good person, whether I'm a good fighter or not. As long as she knows that I'm there for her 24/7, 7 days a week. And what I want to install my kids is that no matter the situation you are in your life, say, for instance, you're out drinking and you think, I can't phone my dad, he's going to kill me. Like, he'll be so angry. I would rather her phone me and understand that I'm trusting and worthy enough to go and pick her up, or go out of my way of a bit of a hassle to go and pick her up because she trusts me. And that's what I need.
That's awesome. That kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you were watching the UFC event last weekend when there was a moment when Demetrius Johnson is getting, they're showing a video of him going to the Hall of Fame, and he tells his girl, he said, this, because she always asks, why does everybody stop you, Dad? And he said, this is why everybody stops me. And she's like, oh, okay. So you kind of have one of your own little moments.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a crazy experience having kids, absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I was speaking with a few pals back in the UK today, and just a quick weather update. They said it's a very dreek day in Scotland today.
Pissing it down.
I would say that you are likely the face of Scottish mixed martial arts right now, and
I am.
a couple of questions for you. This is non-fighting related, but what was your favorite part or one of your favorite aspects of growing up in Scotland? And then can you transition and talk about what it's like representing the country as a whole?
One of my favourite things of growing up in Scotland would obviously be the scenery and the kind of patriotic symbols that we have, like the bagpipes and these sorts of things. They always bring me chills. They always bring me like sheer pride. And playing sports for your country and representing your country, like for instance when I went and played in France, played rugby, we represented Stirling County Rugby Club, and that was a Scottish team. So I always hold that near and dear to my heart, and that's why I wear the flag. One thing as well, like the UFC don't allow you to change your shorts unless you change your country to match the colour of the shorts. And I wanted a different colour maybe 2 camps ago, and I was like, I'm not changing my flag. Like, why would somebody do that? Like, you're supposed to be representing your country. So whether I wanted purple shorts or yellow shorts, I ain't changing to Brazil. I'm not changing to all these different colours. I'm Scottish, so I'm going to have to deal with the black, the white, or the blue shorts. But if Dana White watches this, I've got a little bit of a design for my shorts. I want tartan shorts, so I'm sure that'll be a good one. I've got a pair in my suitcase back home. I can show them a little bit of a demo.
The UFC was last in Scotland in 2017, and prior to that, 2015. Do you have dreams of bringing the UFC to Scotland? Can you talk about that?
Dreams, admirations. This guy over here, Robert Whiteford, fought in the Hydro how many times? 3? 3 times. I can't believe it. I'm like, I fought in Vegas so many times. Like, the Hydro would just be, the icing on the cake. It'd be absolutely amazing. And after this big win, I'm definitely going to call for it.
Lastly, you touched on your future vision, right? You're focused on the fight here this weekend. But if you are so victorious, could you see yourself potentially looking for a rematch against Manuel Torres?
Definitely. Without going into details, there was obviously some issues with myself. I hate people who bring up an injury or bring up a thing that happened to them in camp. That's why they lost the fight. It was my decision to go into the fight, and I'll hold that. I'll never use that as an excuse. So I would like to rematch him again, obviously, because he's got a win against me. but there was things that went on in that camp that probably I shouldn't have went into the fight. But it is what it is. You know, everybody cares about your wins. Nobody cares about your losses. So we just move on.
Fantastic. And lastly, Lang may your lum reek, sir.
I don't even know that one, and I'm Scottish.
I believe it means long may your chimney smoke.
Ah, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
It's a good wishes to you.
That is good wishes. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Chris, just real quick, one more. Would love your thoughts on Ilya versus Justin, just being the relevancy of your division.
Oh, so, you know, a lot of people think Ilya is going to just steamroll through him with the power that he possesses, but, you know, any fighter who understands fighting understands that, you know, the crisp striker or the, for instance, you know, if you have a new guy come into the gym and he's a little bit unorthodox, it's really difficult to hit or land, or you get hit a little bit more than usual. And I think that's because of Justin Gaethje's awkward style could cause definite threats. And Justin Gaethje is one of my favourite fighters that's active right now. My favourite fighter of all time is Donald Cerrone, and then Justin Gaethje is obviously my favourite fighter live right now in the UFC. Thank you. Finished.